A letter and a passport can't change that, and fuck this administration. And I don't really have an answer on what to do about this, but I feel it was important to share. This is real.
Here she is talking about her experiences. Let's take a look.
Hello, internet. I don't really post much these days, but I had a bit of a harsh reality check today and felt like it's important to share with whoever is listening. So I'm sure most of us remember on, I think, the first day of Trump's presidency, he signed an executive order to declare only two genders recognized by the state, male and female, assigned at birth. And as a result of this, which I wrote down because I want to get it right,
for the record, if you're wondering, what's the point of all this? It's cruelty. Literally nothing else. Take a look.
The Bureau of Consular Affairs has frozen passport applications requesting a gender marker change or renewals or new applications with a gender marker differing from an applicant's gender assigned at birth. So my initial reaction to this, because our president, is a lot of talk, was like, I'll believe it when I see it. And today, I saw it on my new passport.
This is such a fucking insane thing to do, okay? What absolute insanity. Hunter Schafer's from New Jersey, and she still hasn't been on the broadcast. Continue.
Male. So... Now, to specify, my gender markers were first changed in my teens when I first got my driver's license, and then passports following. All have been female since then. Hasn't really been a problem. However, last year when I was filming in Barcelona, our car got broken into and my bag got stolen, and inside of that was my passport, which was supposed to last me up until my 30s. And so I got an emergency passport, which was very simple at the time. It's basically just a copy of my old passport, but temporary and only supposed to be used within the year. So as soon as I got back to the States, I had to get this fixed and get it replaced with a real proper passport, which I went to.
I'm confused. While perverse enough, I thought the executive order simply said that there were two genders, not that someone who was once one sex and has become another cannot stay that gender. Yeah, of course. Look, anytime someone says anything about gender in the opposite direction as the wokes, they just mean they want to shit on trans people, okay? Just like when people talk about fairness in sports, they don't actually care about fairness in women's sports, okay? They just don't want trans people to exist, and this is a permissible way to say fuck trans people. That's it. I've tried to explain this to people over and over again. Some people might genuinely think this conversation is actually about fairness in sports. They might have actually been lost in the sauce. There are plenty of people like that. Okay, plenty of people think, on the one hand, trans people are unfairly discriminated against, and secondly, they should be nowhere near any athletic endeavor. Okay, that is real. That's a real person. That is the average American person, the median position. Okay, having said that, the conversation was started specifically on the boundaries of finding new ways to say trans people should be eradicated from public existence. That's it. Anyway, let's continue.
The Federal Passport Agency today in LA and did. I've had to do this one time before. No part of the process was different. I filled everything out just like I normally would. I put female And when it was picked up today and I opened it up, they had changed the marker to male. And I'm not making this post to fearmonger or to create like drama or receive consolation. I don't need it, but I do think it's worth posting to sort of note the reality of the situation and that it is actually happening. And I was shocked. I was shocked because I don't know. I just didn't think it was actually going to happen. And like, I want to acknowledge my privilege, like not only as a like famous or like celebrity trans woman who is white and thin and
Also, yes, she is trans. She's a trans woman. She's a very famous trans actress. For the record, like, I think the point here is like, at least from where I'm standing, like if it happens to her, which of course it was going to happen to her, because she is trans at the end of the day, it can have, like, think about how much harder it is for the average trans person who also doesn't have the same finances that she has, or didn't have understanding parents early on that were obviously super woke and allowed her to take hormone blockers initially, like puberty blockers initially, or some trans people that don't want to completely pass. Like, there's a variety of different factors here at play. Okay.
can adhere to like contemporary beauty standards and I can participate in all of that. And I pass and it still happened. Yeah, I never had my birth certificate changed. So this has led me to believe that I think the agencies who are in charge of passports and this sort of thing are now required to cross-reference birth certificates, or I don't know exactly what or what changed as far as the processing goes, but
it's unnecessarily complicated. It makes things unnecessarily complicated.
This is the first time excuse me, this has happened to me since I changed my gender marker. We're coming up on a decade now or something. And I do believe it is a direct result of...
Personally, I've just never found gender, trans, queer discourse is interesting. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fine. But there are plenty of people in here that do care about it. Also, you're talking about like colonialism and stuff. Here, I'll give you one example. Palestine skate game. Okay. Countries that were not victim to Western colonialism oftentimes have very different attitudes about gender, or countries that are removed from, or countries that are far away from Western influence, unironically have very different attitudes about gender and queerness in general. That in and of itself, I think, is should probably explain to you that like our current understanding of gender, like being a rigid binary, unironically is reinforced in perpetuity by Western colonialists.
Administration our country is currently operating under. And I guess I'm just sort of scared of the way this stuff like slowly gets implemented.
I'm not even just talking about like indigenous people either. I'm talking straight up, like, look at Thailand. Okay. Thailand is a great example. Look at Iran. Okay. And there are plenty of issues in terms of sexuality in Iran and even in terms of gender in Iran as well. But like every country has their own set of problems. But ultimately, their existence, the concept of even like third gender, for example, in places like India, okay, I think should help you realize that gender as an expression is very different elsewhere. It's been different throughout time, and that our modern attitudes have nothing to do with the reality or nothing to do with biology in general. As an AFAB, MB therapist that works with only trans clients, there's so much I can say, but one thing I feel is extra important is to mention that transphobia harms everyone. Exactly. That is something that I stress regularly. A prime example being that a female athlete from the Olympics was harassed, sorry I'm blanking on her name, for many reasons we should all care about this. Exactly. Transphobia, trans people are a tiny sliver of the population. Oftentimes it's considered to be like the fanciful Western luxury that is created of trans people, right? Like people look at it and go, oh, this is just like white Western queers, like they're rich, they're labor aristocrats, they're living in the heart of empire, they got no issues, so they're just like trying to bring up new issues. Like that is the broadest way that people look at trans people in a negative fashion.
You know, because things just sort of like start happening. I think as we've seen in like historical rises of fascism and this sort of everything that this new administration.
Cat's out of the fucking bag. You just can't do anything about it. There's no way to just like, unless you do forcible suppression, which is what the administration wants to spend its limited resources on, seemingly, you're not going to be able to get away from this reality. You know, people are trans. They've always been trans, and they're going to continue being fucking trans. That's it.
And kind of represents, there's a lot of talk, and then things start happening, and we start to normalize the circumstances we're under, and I just feel like it's important to share that it's not just talk, that this is real, and it's happening, and no one agencies, no matter their circumstance, no matter how wealthy or white.
Yeah, by the way, they did this with gay people too, with the exact same terminology, with the exact same attacks. But because of legislation, well, one, because of activism, and because of people constantly pushing and pushing and pushing, trans people included, once it became impossible to avoid the elephant in the room that gay people do exist, okay, and the American legislative body changed, okay, then it was over.
Or pretty or whatever is excluded. This is real. I also want to say I don't give a fuck that they put an M on my passport. It doesn't change really anything about me or my transness. However, it does make life a little harder. Personally, I haven't tested it out yet. I'll find out next week when I have to travel abroad for the first time with my new passport. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna come along with having to out myself to like Border Patrol agents and that whole gig much more often than I would like to or is really necessary. And this is just my personal circumstance. And thinking about other trans women who this might also be happening to, or other trans people, the list only gets longer as far as the intricacies that come along with the difficulty that this brings into like real life.
Wait, what? So where was she before? Why didn't she say anything during the election? She's never been an activist. She enjoyed her religious life and never said a word during the election. Now she's surprised by everything. Before the election, Hunter Schafer literally got arrested. What have you done?
Life shit. This is getting very long, but I just want to say trans people are beautiful. We are never going to stop existing. I'm never going to stop being trans.
Yeah, but being quiet and unaware about trans issues in a trans woman still doesn't make sense. She's cool. Why do you think she's quiet and unaware about trans issues? So it's cool she got arrested for protesting genocide, but there's a weird blind spot. What are you talking about? Why is this the assumption that she is quiet and oblivious to trans issues? What is happening? Oh, yeah.
A letter and a passport can't change that, and fuck this administration. And I don't really have an answer on what to do about this, but I feel it was important to share. This is real.
What are they talking about? She helped with the anti-trans bathroom bill in North Carolina turned over. That was back in 2007 too. She's been an advocate. Yeah. But also back then, she did it selfishly. You understand that there's always something you can say. There's always something you can say, oh, it wasn't enough. Or of course she's going to push for that because it was popular, even if it wasn't, right? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. None of it matters. At a certain point, you have to understand that people are just talking shit because they want to talk shit. No, I know they meant that let the people know. Why would you say that so ominously? Because I'm a foe, dude. And you know who else is a foe, apparently? Liv Agar. I welcome Liv Agar to the LGBT foe community in open arms, okay? Thank God. Finally, someone brave enough to be a foe openly.